Once you've settled on a general format or a type of podcast, and you've settled on who your audience is going to be, you need to start actually constructing the episodes. What does an episode sound like? What will the listener experience in the episode? And these are the kinds of questions you need to answer in order to construct your first episode and then eventually your entire series. So for example, will you have a standard intro? Hello, my name is Paul Sutter, and this is the Ask a Spaceman podcast, episode 47 on black holes again. Are you going to have a standard outro? Thank you everyone for listening. Are you not? You don't have to. You don't have to. You can just go barrel right in and just start talking about the topic if you want. Are you going to have musical interludes? If you do introduce music, make sure you have permission to use the music. Do you have an intro theme song? Do you have different segments within your show and you want to break up the segments with a little musical interlude? Do you have a standard outro that you use? For Ask a Spaceman, and we'll see at the end, we'll listen to a little bit of my podcast, not out of vanity, but because I'm the most familiar with my own podcast. I start with a little musical intro, and I paid a musician 5 years ago to come up with it. I liked it. The episode starts with a musical intro, and then I go. And that show doesn't have any segments. It's just one long string of me talking. And then there's a little outro I do, and then back to music. That is the format of my show. My other show, Space Radio, that isn't just a podcast. It's also a radio show. It's also a live stream show. Talk about repurposing content. And that is broken up into segments. There is an introduction. Musical break. There is a news segment, musical break. There is a caller question, musical break. There are live stream Q&A, musical break. There is closing section, closing thoughts, musical end. So it's divided up into distinct sections with each one broken up and divided by music, so that when you listen to the whole thing, you get my voice, you get some cool music, you get some callers in, you get some interviews, and it's all divided up with music. Like as I talked about with the example of Space Radio, you can have sections if you want. It can be one continuous thought if you want it to be. There are podcasts that are 5 hours long that is just one person talking. Or it can be broken up into segments. It is your choice. Pacing is very, very critical. It is something to think about and something to pay attention to. Is yours a rapid fire podcast where you try to say as many things as possible and you're trying to get information out and as fast and as high energy and we are doing this? Or is it a little bit more laid back? Is it calmer? Is it more reflective, introspective, observational? Do we meditate on some subject to improve our mindfulness and objectivity? Is it somewhere in between? Find some pace that fits with your own natural personality. If you're naturally a fast talker, you're aggressive in your speech, and you're really out there and pumped full of energy, well, then bring that to the table because that's you. If you're naturally a little bit more lean back, a little bit more quiet, a little bit more introspective, maybe that's for you. Bring that to the fore because that will be more authentic. That will be more interesting. That will be more you. But whatever you do, stick to it. Find a pacing that works for your show and stick to it. If you do have sponsors and advertising, you will need to mention those. They will need to be a regular part of your episode format. And I'll talk about how that can potentially work later on when we talk about monetization. And also there can be room for audience feedback. Maybe people can leave a voicemail or call into the show. Maybe people are watching it live and you bring in live callers. Maybe you like to read some of the favorite top questions that you got from email. Maybe you read some comments that appeared on the show website. You can create a space for audience feedback, for the audience to hear themselves and for you to listen to the audience in that open venue. That's a great way. In Space Radio, people can go to the website, click a button and record a voicemail, and then I will play the voicemail on the show and answer their question. In Ask a Spaceman, people are asking me questions. I say, I got a question from Alex about black holes. And so now we're going to talk about black holes today. And that's how I try to integrate the audience into my show. But the choice is yours. For this format, these are just things to think about in the structure of an episode. You don't need all of them, of course, but this is how you should frame it. This is how you should put those pieces together. Should you include intros and outros? Should you have a musical interlude? What is your pacing? Do you have sponsors? Do you want space for audience feedback? It can change over the course of the lifetime of a show. I urge you to stick with a particular format for at least, I would say, 6 months to really see if it's working for you. I would not change things quickly, and I would not change things without warning. Work out a format first and then go to record your show.